Welcome to the Supplement Engineer Podcast. I'm Robert Schnetsky. I almost called this the Supplement Snoop Podcast because last week you had a
Oh,
good rant, and we just prior to starting the record button, you were about to start off on another rant. So, man, I'm gonna end with the preamble and let you get right into it on this week's opening rant from Supplement Snoop.
well, let's be honest. This is not anywhere near a rant like what some of mine can be. We were having this conversation and someone asked me about it in my stories, but it also ties into with the whole Supplement Snoop consulting program. We work with a lot of brands and we see uh, trademarked ingredients, licensed ingredients, patented ingredients, all this stuff is like all the rage and people want them and I get it,
Mm-hmm.
but they are so unique to each other. Um, you see what brands have to go through sometimes, or manufacturers have to through sometimes in order to get these types of ingredients into their formulas. And I won't name details right away, but it's almost funny because it adds another. So communication to me between manufacturers, brands, and stuff like that is just really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been trying to sort of step in and help that process with a lot of people. But then you add the people that own these ingredients, another layer of communication, another email chain, another people with their set of problems, and you bring those. And then if you have like six, seven, eight different licensed ingredients,
Yeah.
you're adding, oh my God, man, I can't even take it. And I don't even own a brand. And the further I tell you, man, like people are always like, Justin, when's I know you would do, trusted ingredients and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I was like, it's kind of sad, but you see the work and like, you see people like, we mentioned a few different brands that really focus on this stuff. And it's exhausting, man. And like, I swear to God, like we laugh, these people, you're trying to give them your money
Mm-hmm.
and they don't take it. And then you know damn well they're having a meeting somewhere about how to try to make more money.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
So this trademark thing, because people always ask me like, well, it doesn't matter, and it's just like, holy shit, like that is such a because they are all almost unique in and of themselves. You have some places. If you go to Compound Solutions,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are confused too. The Compound Solutions like they buy, right? They buy other ones, bring them into the fold, and then to help
Correct.
the whole entire process be easier. That's kind of like what their goal is, and
Yeah, it's like a
that's
marketing slash ingredient research house kind of thing. They're not actually producing the stuff in in their offices in California. It's not like they have this big manufacturing facility attached to their offices. It's not like that.
yep. It just sort of is there to help the whole process be easier, and I
Right.
totally get it, man.
Yeah.
But then you have like some places like Nutrition 21 and stuff. They
Mm-hmm.
have several. So the ones that do have maybe a bigger profile, probably a little bit easier to do. But man, you start getting,
Yeah.
you want to, oh yeah, let's. We have like one client in particular. He really is huge science person, and that what what he's going through to just try to get like one or two ingredients that into his formula. Like we get off these phone calls and we're just like, what oh, I don't even know how to respond
Yeah.
to this type of stuff. People are It's a bizarre industry, man.
You don't have to name the specific trademarked or licensed ingredients, but can you give an example of what some of the nonsense is with that these licensed or trademarked ingredients are putting on the contract manufacturers, or some of the loopholes that the CMs are having to jump through to get these ingredients?
Gotcha. That's a good question. I would say one thing that really changes between is how willing these places are to work with. If you're a Cellucor or something, a really big brand, and you can order these huge quantities, or your manufacturer can order these huge quantities. But a lot of these people have massive minimum orders for because a lot of small brands like to use these types of ingredients. They don't have as much overhead. They can spend a little bit more on formulas and stuff like that. So they
Mm-hmm.
like okay, but then they run into this problem where they have no leverage as a small company. Like I said, the minimum order quantities for say weight that they're actually even willing to ship to your manufacturer can sometimes be like you you see the numbers and you're like, that's like a warehouse full.
Yeah, it's a cost
And
prohibitive to use these ingredients.
right, and someone's trying to run 500 units of something, and you're like, well, that's not going to work. You need to order like 50,000. It's like, holy shit. So I think that's one thing. It's definitely a unique part of the industry that I don't think a lot of people you don't have access to and you don't really think about. You just, I would say, people, general consumers, probably assume that this whole process is more streamlined. I don't want to say professional because that's not exactly true. There's a lot of people who are very professional that
Right.
still running these delays, but it
Hmm.
is not the well-oiled machine.
That you would think it would be.
It's not even close.
Mm-mm.
So this is kind of funny, man. It's the whole, there's a lot of things that I did know, but being more hands-on within the whole entire process is very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And you
The
see why like brands constantly are, you know, one mistake that we constantly see in this industry is people announcing that they're going to do something and then it
never
like
happens.
never happens.
Right.
And then but then you see why. So that's why we're always just really careful. Like, hey man, I don't want to say anything because it's just such a common thing. That's why there's always delays. There's always, you know, because when you start to you're waiting for all these pieces to come together, and then when they do, you kind of go, well, I can't do that.
Right.
I gotta start over.
Yeah, and my issue, with certain ingredients, I very much like the trademarked or the patented or licensed form, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Um, something like KSM, because KSM has, 10 or 12 studies behind it showing all these different benefits. That's great. Where I have an issue is with something like S7, and I know that's the horse that I keep kicking, or the dog that I keep kicking week after week, but
Leave those people alone,
I mean,
Robert.
yeah, well, it's not really their fault, I guess. It's all the brands that jumped on behind the S7 bandwagon and started saying increases nitric oxide by 230%. It is one small study in 8 people, and this same story happens for all of these other trademarked ingredients. There is one isolated study, or maybe 2 studies. There's like a preclinical and maybe a clinical trial, and that's it. There's not this comprehensive or extensive body of evidence showing these ingredients do fuck all of anything for anybody in every circumstance, especially not in sports performance or recovery or joint health or anything like that. All these designer ingredients that cost so much and put so much added expense onto the brands and then by proxy onto the consumers have next to no evidence at all, which is why I tend to go with things like rhodiola. I'll go with the generic. Something like Bacopa monieri has several, Bacignize has several different studies. So I'm good using the higher bacicide content of Bacignize, but over just a generic Bacopa extract. But a lot of these trademarked ingredients, I'm not super comfortable between carnosine beta-alanine, regular beta-alanine. No, Creapure, creatine monohydrate, or some other kind of micronized creatine. There's no difference there. And then all of the other like 1 or 2 little study things. Citrapeak is some new hesperidin derivative that's getting some traction for increased blood flow, and that'll start, I'm sure, tracking on. Prinova's got a couple of other ones called Neurobloom, which there's one study in people showing it might enhance cognitive function, I think in MMA fighters, and so they're releasing like an MMA version and then a gamer version. And I get sick of these trademarked ingredients, and they're all so hoity-toity, but they really have next to no body of evidence, and we're never going to get anything else aside from it, because I was on a call with one of these ingredient houses. I'm not going to say which ingredient it was. It wasn't S7, but it was another one last year when I was doing some formulation
They're not
consulting.
calling you, man. They're not.
Well,
They're not calling you.
They're not going to. But it was another one, and they said, "Well, hey, we've run a pair of studies showing it does so and so in exercise populations, and it also increases this certain level of a neurotransmitter." I said, "Great. What's down the pipeline for more testing?" And they said, "We feel confident in our ingredient with these 2 tests." And I thought, so one study had 16 people, the other study had 30 people. So we're going to assume 46 total people. This is going to be effective for every other person in the population. And we're going to start marketing, trying to get it in every supplement under God's green earth to get it going. I thought, no, that kind of turns me off on this ingredient here. I'm not super comfortable recommending it if you're not going to even show initiative to try and get some other labs to run it. And I realize research is expensive and supplement dollars can be spent somewhere else, or the company's dollars can be spent somewhere else. But do a little bit more homework to get some, more information on what possible side effects could happen, because all of these supplement trials are like 4 to 8 weeks. What happens at the 12-week mark, the 24-week mark, the 52-week mark? Let's get some more long-term studies and bigger populations going.
Yeah, man. I thought I was supposed to go on a rant.
I've realized that, and I don't know. I'm still buzzing off my pre-workout. I just finished training about an hour ago, so that's
Me too.
you get that.
Yeah. It just is what it is, right? It's a double-edged sword. I mean, you know this. I think everybody realizes this. Like, in some cases, that's the best we're going to do. So, and I think you and I have like had this conversation where we're like, sometimes you see new stuff, new ideas, and it's like you're very quick to go, well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have to be open to, because that's as good as we're going to do in a lot of cases, which sucks. It's like, we want to see more, but then at the same time, it's like we kind of got to take what we can. And
Yeah.
I try to be open-minded. It's like the whole thing with S7, the study is awful. It's actually not even worth discussing the study. But then at the same time, like I said, we can look at, it's such a small dose, which is weird because you can look at S7, you can go, well, we know what's in it and we know what those ingredients do. Correct. But at 50 milligrams or 25 milligrams, I don't know, kind of thing. So it's just it's almost like you just have to do it. People ask these broad stroke questions, and I totally get it, but you really have to look at it almost on a case by case sort of basis. I mean, just look how popular Velocitol is. We stick it in protein at 25 grams,
right?
But it's never what it was shown for is nothing like that at all. So the only person I ever saw, there might be more, to use it in the setting that it was meant to be used was Court.
Mm-hmm.
And go figure, the product didn't get it because people didn't understand it.
Right.
They're like, it was an intra product. He took 6 grams of whey because he doesn't like using amino acids, which ties into a whole other conversation that we were having about Glaxin last week and that Xeno product.
Yep.
So he took the 6 grams. He doesn't like amino acids on their own. He wants the protein source. Use Velocitol with that to increase the effectiveness of that 6 grams in a low protein setting, which makes sense while you're doing your workouts. And people are like, where's the amino acids? So you're like, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like, what am I thinking outside the box and putting the pieces together? Because what I've noticed and what that Glaxin Xeno product made me think about was when I first started sort of getting into this industry, there was questions that I had where I was like, I just don't understand what we're doing here. And one of them was the amino acid thing.
Yeah.
Because people would always ask me, like, I was trying to figure out, like, what are these amino acid ratios that we're looking for? Mm-hmm. My just initial reaction was, I was like, if we're trying to assimilate protein, because that just was what made sense to me, I was like, we're not using the ingredients that actually do that. And not that there's studies with BCAAs and stuff like that, but I was like, wouldn't it just make sense to sort of at least try to mimic what a whey protein, does? Mm-hmm. And then those Glaxin guys, man, I don't know if you watched that video about Xeno, but
Joey did a great job explaining how they
that shit was
formulated that thing. That was really cool.
But it was cool because you and I discussed that product last week, and I think we both were like, you kind of see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people looked at that product and they're like, oh, it's a shit show of amino acids. Mm-hmm. It's a blend of amino acids. And I get that. We're sort of more skeptical these days, which is good.
Right.
But then as, we were looking at it a little bit more, I'm like, I think I see what they're doing here.
Yeah.
And that's actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then when, and I didn't ask them this, but then they also have the collagen. My question for them, I got to make sure I ask them, how does the collagen tie in there? Because we know collagen contains amino acids, say if it's I think it was at 2 grams in there. Mm-hmm. Does that collagen have anything to do with their, I think it's called Myosec?
Myosec or Sec or something like that.
Yeah. I was curious, like, how those work together, being that there's sort of, I don't know if that's playing into the amino acids that are in Myosec or if it's separate. And
I think it's separate. So. I think the collagen is included at a separate 2 grams. And that's good because it's higher in proline, hydroxyproline, and glycine, which are three amino acids that aren't super abundant in the other amino acid blend. They're just in many protein sources that we get. That's why they tell you to take either gelatin or collagen supplements, so you get more of those three amino acids to stimulate collagen production in the body.
Yeah, it's definitely separate on the label, but then I was like, okay, well that's cool. That's even makes it even cooler because if you have their blend that's put together, then you're also reinforcing glycines and like what you're mentioning with the collagen. I said that's sort of like a double whammy, which I like that. So
Yep.
anyway, it's a much cooler product than I think people initially thought it was when they looked at it.
Yeah, and I really like what Glaxon is doing, and I wish more brands were doing this, where they have somebody from the company doing the education on how the products are designed, why they were doing this way. Because most brands that spit out an essential amino acid formula or BCA formula, they're just getting that from the contract manufacturer. The contract manufacturer says, hey, this is what our EAA blend is, and then they immediately go and put that on the supplement facts panel. There's no rhyme, reason, or methodology behind why that specific sequence of amino acids is included in there outside of the 5 grams of 2-on-1 BCAs and then the pixie dusting of all of the other essential amino acids. So I want to see more companies putting the science forward. Like Ben does a great job with that at Morphogen Nutrition. I know there's a ton of other companies, but the main, like the big dogs are the ones that have more traction, spend the 6 figures per month on Facebook ads and Instagram ads and all this other nonsense and Google ads. Start, instead of showing me a picture of an athlete with his shaker cup and your product next to him, because I doubt if they're ever actually using that product outside of that little photo session they're doing, instead of spamming everybody with that bullshit, start putting some other, reasonings. Give us a peel back the label and tell us why your products are this way. What are these ingredients actually doing? Quit with all the advertising and the boobs, butts, and biceps. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing. And also, what I like about the Glaxon guys is whenever I talk to Joey about this stuff, he never ever says, "Hey, this is my idea. This is what we've shown in our tests in our lab."
Yeah.
He doesn't say that's gospel. Everybody else better recognize that this is the way you're supposed to do it.
Right.
He's kind of in that mode where he's like, I want to hear what other people think. He goes, I'm open to having dialogue about this stuff, but a lot of people just don't talk about it because it just doesn't ever get to that point, which is unfortunate. So they're not only are they, I would say, forging a little bit different of a path, they're also doing it in a way where they're like, hey, those that are interested, come along and let's do this sort of let's work together kind of thing, which I think that's why I just appreciate those guys, and I think that's why we just sort of naturally. I told them, and they know this. Like when I first saw their stuff and they reached out, I was like, "Holy shit! This is a marketing. This is such a marketing heavy. Like I've heard this all before, kind of thing." But then as time went along, I was like, "Yeah, I get it. It's not what I thought it was, so it's cool.
Yeah.
So I like it. So anytime we see brands like that, man, I want to see more."
Yeah, I'm all there with you, man. But what's new in the Supplement Snoop stash this week?
Did I talk about? So one thing we could talk about, our mutual acquaintance, the good people over at Steel Fit.
Yeah,
Did you get this?
I did. The pink grapefruit, the new flavor of Steel Pump.
Did you try it?
I have not tried it yet. It is sitting on my counter as we record this podcast. I have not tried it yet. I don't have a good excuse. I just haven't cracked it open yet.
I was going to try it today, but then I ultimately decided to go no pre-workout today.
Ooh.
I went pump formula.
Okay.
Just because I tell you what, man, this last like week, 10 days,
Rough.
there's been a little too many stimulants. I'm not feeling the negative effects, but I had a feeling because the way the Steel Pump is, if you look at it, right, it's got some ashwagandha, it's got some theanine, right?
Yeah, 300 of KSM, 200 of theanine.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to use this product and just like not give it, because if I use this after I've been using the products I've been using lately,
you're not going to feel anything. You'll flatline.
And it'll probably be in a negative kind of way because because I'll feel the theanine, I'll feel the KSM.
Right.
And if I'm not feeling the stimulatory effect to go with it, then it just winds up giving me a sleepy experience, and so I'm gonna hold off on that. But I think it's cool. It's a cool looking formula. I like it. It's got some MCTs in there, like a gram, alpha GPC. It's got grapeseed, glutathione.
Yeah.
It's got PKTP, which is a bastard expensive ingredient. So
Yeah.
they pulled no expense, I would say, with that formula. So I'm curious to see it.
Yeah. Have you ever tried either of the other flavors or used the product ever before? Because I've used their
Mm-mm.
I think it's strawberry lemonade. I think that's the other. I think that's the current tub I have open, and and you're right. The KSM and the theanine does have a calming effect on it, and it zaps a little bit of that pop, which that's kind of a knock I always have. I mean, it's a drawback for me personally because I guess I'm just overly sensitive to theanine and KSM, or I'm just not naturally. I don't get jittery or edgy from caffeine, or I don't feel anxious or any of the negative side effects of caffeine, especially something as tame as 300. I mean, maybe if I took a full scoop of like a Pollen's Assassin where it's 500 milligrams plus all the other stimulants zapping me in the face at one
Right.
time, then I would probably benefit from having some theanine in there. But your typical run of the mill 300 milligram pre workout, I don't need the theanine in there. I definitely don't want it in there. But all that being said, in the times that I have used Steel Pump, the other flavor of it, besides the flavoring is good, so I'll leave that there. So I fully expect that this pink grapefruit is going to be dynamite. Um, the effects, the pump on it is actually really good, and that's surprising because there's only 3 grams of citrulline malate in there. Is it? Check the product label. I'm just doing this from memory right
Yeah,
now.
great. There's
It's
grapeseed in there,
yeah, I was gonna
which
say, is it
grapeseed
300 milligrams of grapeseed or 200?
200.
200. Okay, and then I know there's that one study that shows enhanced
Yep.
benefits between when you pair glutathione and citrulline together. They're using
Yes.
they're using a generic glutathione in this one. They're not the patented one.
Cetria.
Yeah,
Cetria is the glutathione. That's a really cool thing going on there, right? Because you have the antioxidant effect, and
yeah.
if it's boosting up something. But you're right. You're right. It's not Cetria.
Right, but so maybe there's a little complementary or synergistic effect there. But the interesting thing is that regular L-glutathione supplementation isn't readily absorbed by the body, and that's why they always say use N-acetylcysteine. But I
Hmm.
mean, the pumps that I've gotten on that product, they're actually pretty decent for it not being, your typical
Yeah.
6 gram citrulline, 1 gram agmatine. So there's definitely something going on there with that. And I like it. As far as a performance pre-workout, it's solid. Energy and focus, I think I would need less theanine and KSM. But on a performance side and pump side, it's there. It's solid there. The energy and focus, I find it's lacking for me because it's got those calming agents that I don't necessarily like.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of ties in why a lot of companies will use because the performance benefits, right?
Yeah.
If the caffeine or the stims are hitting you too much, right? You would think, oh, if I'm just all jacked up on stims, my performance will be better when actually that's not true.
Right.
Like it does in maybe a little bit, but your performance usually will ultimately suffer
Yeah.
at some point. So I think that they're going for right. They're not. It's not a stim junkie pre-workout. I think
No.
it's really cool though. I think I really like the formula. So like I
Yeah.
said, I wanted to wait until you just get to know your body and you know what you've been using. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold off because I want to get a good experience with it, or
Yeah.
a good, I would say, a clean slate kind of
Hmm.
thing. So I'll
Yeah.
be I'll be going out of town this weekend, so I won't be going to the gym for a couple days, just 2 days. So I'll probably use it coming back, as it'll be a good way to sort of get back into it.
Re-enter. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been disappointed with any of the products I've tried from Steel Fit.
Yeah, I
Um,
like them.
the proteins are really good, delicious, um, and the pre workout's good. I've used the sleep supplement prior, and that's good. I haven't had any issues. You don't feel groggy. It's
Steel
enough.
Dreams.
Yes,
Dreams.
yeah, Steel Dreams.
Yep, I like that
Um,
one.
the powdered thermo is pretty good. Steel Sweat. It's only 100 milligrams, but it's got GBB in there, and I think some paradoxine and cayenne or capsiastro, which is a capsaicin relative. So it's got
Hmm.
dihydro capsiate. I think that's what the actual molecule is. And capsiastro is the patented form. But yeah, I mean that's good if I'm just doing like a hit workout or something like that, or I've already had a cup of coffee in the morning and I just need like a little bump going into an afternoon workout. That's perfect.
Yep.
So
Yeah, they make cool formulas. I think
mhm,
they're just really solid. So yeah, and
yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly that protein is excellent.
Yeah, and for their stuff's reasonably priced too. I realize it
That's what I
sounds like
thought.
we're beating the steel fit drum pretty hard here, but
Yeah,
I
you
mean
gotta be
it's
careful.
yeah the pricing on the stuff, especially when you see how many trademarked ingredients they typically use and the serving sizes and all of that stuff. It's I would say much more affordably priced than a lot of other comparable companies that use trademarked ingredients.
Well, and speaking of companies that we bang the drum on, have I talked to you about the Glaxon Plasm caps?
No, you have not. I know our boy Sam over there is all about him and he likes him a lot because it's got vasodrive in there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and acetylcysteine,
yep.
or is I'm thinking that's in a different product?
That I believe is in their powder
Okay,
Plasm Surge.
okay,
Um, betaine nitrate, hawthorn berry, grapeseed, glycerol monostearate, vasodrive.
yeah. Hawthorn berry is another sneaky pump ingredient. That was in one of VMI's old pump formulas, their stem-free pump formula, and that's a cool ingredient. I like hawthorn
And
berry.
it was in Aries too when Intel brought Aries back,
Yep.
and the pumps on that thing were fucking sick. These plasma caps, dude.
Yeah.
People were like, "So what'd you think?" I said it honestly might be too much pump
Is
because
that possible?
right, you don't think that's possible. So full disclosure, the first time I took it, I thought one thing about Glaxon is their labels are very very tiny.
Yeah, it's super hard to read. I wish that would be one thing I want them to fix is give me a bigger freaking supplement facts panel.
So I thought it said 6 capsules was a serving. It's actually 5.
No shit.
But I took this twice
Mm-hmm.
at the full dose and one time above, just a little bit above his full dose.
Yeah.
And after about an hour, and it's ironic too because they they test theirs, saliva tests and all this other stuff at certain intervals. And
Mm-hmm.
the one guy from there was like, let me know what your experiences are after about an hour. I honestly, the pumps were so intense that I like got a little bit dizzy, a little lightheaded, and it happened twice, and I was like, "Holy shit!" But the pumps were just
Yeah.
mind blowing. And I'm looking at this bottle,
How much nitrate is in there?
just over a gram of
Okay.
it's betaine nitrate too.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ratio is there.
I'd
That's
have to
one of
go
the
back
ones
and
I
look.
don't
It's
know.
been forever since I ran those numbers. But did you stack it with any other pump agents like some citrulline or agmatine or anything like that?
Yeah,
Or
I think the first time I took it, I had a pre that had some citrulline in it, so it wasn't all just one
mm-hmm.
product. But I mean, I do that shit all the time.
Right, yeah, and you don't get lightheaded or anything.
I took like, what was it, 2.5 or 3 grams of ASO6 the
Yeah.
one day, and it was about the same kind of thing where I was like, wow, this is actually just too much. And actually, a friend of mine, he also was using the plasma. He goes, I had the same exact experience. He's like,
Yeah.
so the next time I was going to use it, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I might do a half a dose,
Hmm.
which I don't. I never do that.
Yeah.
I never do that.
Interesting.
But it is wicked, man. Wicked pumps.
You said they were doing saliva testing. What were they testing for in the saliva?
So we didn't do like I didn't go into details. I didn't ask them details. They share
Yeah.
with me certain information, and sometimes I'm like, I just appreciate what they do tell me.
Yeah.
It might not even have been saliva testing on this one. They just like they do urine. It was because I was watching Sam's stories today, and he's like, I take more piss tests than like MMA fighters. He's like, that's what I do all day. It's like I take something and I go take a piss test.
Yeah, I was going to think with saliva, I don't know if you can measure. I don't think you can measure nitric oxide levels with that or any other kind of biomarker for NO production. Maybe nitrates in the saliva, because I know nitrate breakdown and that conversion starts in the mouth, which is why they tell you if you're trying to go for that nitrate pump thing, don't always use like mouthwashes and stuff like that because the alcohol in them will destroy some of the bacteria that generates nitric oxide in your mouth. So maybe there's a component they can test through that, but I know that you can do like salivary cortisol and testosterone levels, which how effective salivary testosterone levels are. I mean, that's going to fluctuate throughout the day, kind of like cortisol does too.
Mm-hmm.
But still,
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's good to see a company and actually doing that when they're formulating their products.
right? And
Yeah.
then it's like, because I keep getting these half-baked, really kind of bullshit responses from like other company owners and stuff like that that
Yeah.
are just like, oh, well, they obviously spiked their stuff, and it's like, that's not always the answer,
Right.
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe they just really like. Well, I think we noticed too, a lot of companies that we talk about a lot are ones that spend more time testing
Yeah.
and using a lot of anecdotal evidence. They really do their homework. Um, but these guys take it to another level. They have their own, their own setup, their own show. They're one of the,
Yeah.
few companies I think that do have that. So they put it to good use. And I think like what you said earlier, a lot of formulators within the industry are sort of like freelance.
Hmm.
You don't work for a specific company,
Right.
but I believe that they have their own. I think he's like their chief science officer operator,
Yeah.
and so he's dedicated to just them, I think.
Hmm.
So it does make sense. I mean, the whole brand makes sense. They have a lot of experience, they have a lot of knowledge, they have a lot of resources,
Yeah.
and people are sort of like taken aback, like where did this company come from? Like I can't believe how hard they're hitting the ground. It's like, well, in a way, but at the
Yeah.
same time, if you sort of look deeper, which they're always opening the curtain for us, especially on the Supplement Snoop group and stuff like that. They're
Hmm.
really active over there, and
Yeah.
they're like, here it is. Like we're not going to tell you everything, but we'll let you know what we do and why. Maybe that'll explain why our products are like that flight.
Yeah.
I would have bet everything I have on that product being a total dud.
Yeah.
It's legit.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm like, I'm taking it. I'm going. There's no fucking way this is happening. But then at the same time, like we had the same conversation when I did tell those guys that
Hmm.
they didn't go, oh, we knew it because we know what we're doing. We're smarter than everyone else in the room.
Yeah.
Actually, their first response was, the hard part about talking about a product like that is you're probably taking a lot of products.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're having a hard time pinpointing whether, this is it or not. So we're in the very preliminary stages, I would say, and as you can see, I made a video on the
Hmm.
Supplement Snoop private
Yep.
group, and
Yeah.
then
Seen it.
everybody bought it. So
Uh,
so we'll have a nice group of people there that I'll be able to give some good feedback and stuff like that. So I'm curious. A lot of pressure on me. I know when I say go buy something, I didn't even say that, but
yeah.
if I suggest that it works,
Right.
then people are going to buy it. So it's good stuff, man. I like it. I like what they're doing.
Excellent.
Did we talk about the nutrition store last week? I can't remember if I got this
Enjoy the ride.
product. Yeah,
You had gotten it, but you had not yet tried it. We just did the
it was
panel
on
breakdown.
Stacked.
Yeah.
Yep, it was on Stacked. So they had some mistakes on the label,
Hmm.
some misspellings, and some things out of order. But I've used it a couple times lately, and this is another one I'm going to hold off because when I'm looking at the formula, I love the formula.
Yeah.
I love it. And I've used it a couple times and I get really great energy, but it just doesn't last
Hmm.
very long. And there's a couple things, I have a couple of thoughts about that. One, I really respond well to reagerensis.
Hmm.
There's nothing in there really to help with the reagerensis can be very quick acting. There's
Yeah.
nothing in there to really help that. Um, and then you have the T-cream dynamine combo, which I do not generally like.
Right.
Just doesn't. When I have caffeine, T-cream, dynamine, I've used a few products like that, and I just don't. I get this really weird.
Yeah.
Like
I feel
there's a lot.
unmotivated to do anything after I take. I've tried like you 3 or 4 products with that, and every time those ratios are in there, I feel unmotivated to work out or tired. It's not even tired. It's just I feel flattened. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, I've just not. It doesn't work well with me because
No.
when you know what they do within the body, but some people do have different reactions to it. But it just feels like there's three things in there that are all trying to do the same thing,
Yeah.
and nothing happens.
Right.
That's kind of the way I feel because there's isopropanolphinephrine in here,
Hmm.
and that's a tough one. It's a lower dose, so I get like some decent energy, but flatlines very quick.
Yeah.
And it does make sense when I look at the label, like for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I only use it twice. I'm going to use it again, probably next week. Give myself a little break because I have been
hitting it hard.
And then Robbie said he's going to send me some Assassin. I was like, oh shit.
Speaking of that, I took my first run at that on Tuesday, and I was, so spoiler alert for next week's podcast. It's with Robbie from Apollon.
Yeah, I heard you guys get a little wild. He told me the same thing.
He's gonna ruffle a lot of feathers. I'll leave it at that. I might upload a teaser clip or something to kind of get a preview for people. I mean, Robbie, he doesn't pull any punches, and he doesn't care if he ruffles some feathers or not. So we started the podcast, and I was sipping on a half scoop. I don't think I'm ever going to use a full scoop of Assassin. I didn't use a full scoop of the previous version. I've never used a full scoop of Hooligan.
Come on, man.
I don't need that many stimulants.
That has nothing to do with it. That is not. What do you mean need? Like, no one needs that much stimulants. But
I'm a needs man, not a wants man. So
that's just. Robert, you're in a position here where you have one job. And your one job is to sacrifice your own well-being so that you can tell other people that how you felt. So and just to back up what you were just saying.
Yeah.
You said you've never used a full scoop of Hooligan?
No.
Why?
I don't need 600 milligrams or 700 milligrams of caffeine to.
Nobody does.
I mean, certain people might if they're, caffeine tolerant.
I've never used less than one scoop of.
Well, let's just say that Assassin, usually it takes me, and we've talked before, it takes, at least a good 35 to 45 minutes for a pre-workout to hit us. I started sipping that thing 10 minutes into the podcast with Robbie, and this was only a half scoop. That shit hits quick. 15 minutes in, I'm straight tunnel vision going through the podcast. I haven't gone back and looked at the video yet, but I'm sure as the podcast goes on, my eyes are starting to slowly get bigger and bigger by the end of the podcast. And so I went immediately after that and went and did a chest and back workout because that was going to be like I was bumping up to get ready for the workout after the podcast was over. And it hits quick, and that's one of the few experiences with product that contains both isopropyl norepinephrine and alpha yohimbine that didn't leave me feeling miserable. Now, granted, I only took half a scoop, so maybe that was why. I don't know, but there was no crash. I felt really, really friggin' good on half scoop of Assassin. So I think you'll enjoy it when you get to take it for a ride.
Yeah, it's just for all the people out there that want to know. Like, I won't be half scooping it.
Well, that's why this is why this is a partnership. I do the half scoop, you do the full scoop, and we'll see where we come out at the end. Maybe one day, if I get like 3 hours of sleep one night or something, or Sandy just kicks me a whole bunch of times in the middle of the night, then I'll take a full scoop, and we'll see what happens.
How about, because we're all going to go out one of those nights in Columbus, so we'll take some then, or maybe it'd be an overtime kind of party.
Or we do both. We take 6 caps of overtime and a full scoop of Assassin. We see how that goes.
I talk a lot of shit, but I'm not doing that.
well, if Eddie's in town for Muscle Players, we'll let him do that. He's crazy enough to do that shit.
Eddie's getting too old for that stuff, man. He's
getting soft in his old age.
How about Pete? We'll get Pete to do it.
Pete works, yeah, or Nick from Rage.
Oh yeah, Nick. He's born for that. He's built for that stuff. He'll be there.
Oh yeah. Speaking of overtime, I still haven't done a full serving of that one either. I've done 3 caps, and that's all I'd need, and I'm good to go for the whole day on that stuff. So
yeah, I have that in case of emergency break glass window here. Like if I have not slept, whatever for days. I haven't taken. I don't think I've taken a full 6.
No, I think you've only done 4 is what you told me.
Yeah, and I don't think I've, because a lot of times that's just kind of it with me is, in order to keep my system running the way I like it, a pre-workout is mostly all I'm going to take for the day.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
Especially some of these ones are 400 caffeine and stuff like that. I don't want to go too far over that, but when I do take a day, say, off of a pre-workout, it's usually to give myself a little break. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so then I'm not going to take.
Yeah.
So I have trouble fitting other stimulants into my routine other than pre-workouts, because once I start to do that, it really just messes
It gets
everything
bad.
up.
Yeah.
And I prefer, like I said, we've talked lots. I prefer to train almost every day, so it's like I would uh, boo-hoo what I'm trying to do by just.
Yep.
So I think what else did I try? Build Fast Formula sent me their protein.
How is that? It's 80/20, isn't it? So 80 casein, 20 whey
Yeah, and they call it like nature's ratio or
ratio.
something
Yeah.
like that because right, that's the
Right.
milk ratio. And they took he said that what they did because I asked him I said, well, so it's similar to like a milk protein isolate, that ratio. He said what they did was they took like some of the gums and stuff out of it,
Mm-hmm.
so to hopefully or to make the texture better and
Yeah.
some other things. That it's really good. They did a good job on it. Chocolate, basically chocolate and vanilla, so far I think is what I've tried, and they're good, man. It's a casing. It's thick. It's I prefer casings type stuff anyway, so
Yeah.
I like it. They did a good job. They put a lot of effort in this one. They're a good company. I mean, everything that they make is rock solid. So I liked it.
Yeah, and credit to them. They're actually telling you how much of everything you're getting in the thing. So
Oh,
they
the
tell you there's
panel. Yeah,
1.9 grams
yeah.
of cocoa, 1 gram of natural and artificial flavors, 135 milligrams of sodium, 309 potassium, and 90 milligrams of sucralose. So they're on that full disclosure bandwagon, which I really like for that.
Yep. And if you look at like they're in bags, and if you
Mhm.
look at that bag, there's every bit of information you would ever want to think of to know is on that bag. Like you can just sit there and read it for a while. So
Yeah.
yeah, we always appreciate that. I like those guys. They're a good company.
Yeah. Flavor's all right.
Yeah, yeah, flavors are real solid, and I think that's kind of one thing we've been talking lately. Me and some other people as well is like we've been getting so crazy with these protein flavors. Sometimes I find people asking me more now, "Hey, do you know a good like chocolate or vanilla?"
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm like, right, you're like, oh well, we've sort of taken this turn into get as creative as possible, which is great. But sometimes people just want that regular. Maybe it's just to mix it in something or whatever, and
Yeah.
they're like, So it's kind of cool to see those options back in play. Plus, then they don't have to use. Um, they can use less flavoring and less things like that for the most part. If you can just
Right.
use some cocoa,
Hmm.
vanilla. That was one thing I first noticed when I started researching supplements is seeing the proteins. I used to always use vanilla because um, you see you look at a company's vanilla protein will have this many ingredients, and then if it's like cookies and cream because the inclusion stuff,
Yeah.
it's like this long, and you're just going, shit, do I really need that? But
Yeah.
just like personal choice.
Hmm. Yeah. It is what it is.
They're good stuff.
All right. Anything else before we get to start running down stacks? Uh, laundry list of
Um,
products.
yes. So the T-shirt I have on actually, this company, like a small company, you'll like this one. They're called Hollow Labs, but they sent me their pre and their pump. Their pre-workout caught my attention. It's a gram of tyrosine, 350 caffeine, 200 urea gerensis, 200 theobromine, 75 infinergy, 75 hordenine, huperzine A, and alpha yohimbine. And I was like, I saw that. You see the urea gerensis hordenine combination, which is really good, one that I really like.
Yeah.
Then you have the alpha yohimbine, decent amount of caffeine, theobromine. I was like, some tyrosine. I was like, I could rock that. It's good,
Yeah.
solid, really solid. I like it.
Sweet.
Other than that, man, I think, jeez, I know I got some other stuff, but I'll have to come back to that maybe
Okay.
next week. So stacked it is. We'll finish up on stacked.
Stacked it is.
How long have we been on? I know last week we went forever,
Mm-hmm.
or I did. I went forever.
We are 45 minutes into this recording.
So actually, I see. Celebrate the arrival of SteelFit's new steel pump flavor and save $16. Is on stacked.
That's pretty awesome.
I feel like I have to try that. Like I have the thing of water and I have
Yeah.
the pump right there next to me. I feel like I should just try it.
Watermelon lemonade. That's what it was. That was the flavor I had previously tried. And I think I have a tub of the grape soda here, but since I still have the watermelon lemonade open, I'm not about to crack open the grape soda one. I told Rob when he was sending me stuff, I said, just please don't send me blue raz. So that is a flavor. I don't care how good you made it, just don't send it to me.
I don't care how good you made it.
I don't want
please.
that formula, or I don't want that flavor. I cannot stand blue raz. Sandy doesn't mind it; she likes it, so she can have it all she wants to. But I keep that shit away from me as far as possible.
This is where their marketing is winning me because I said I have the tub here and I have some water and I'm looking at this photo of it with the grapefruit and everything and
It looks delicious, doesn't it?
I really just want to try it.
Well, I think you should. You can do a live on-air taste test.
All right, while I'm thinking around with this, go ahead and
ramble.
Sure.
Okay. I'm gonna run down. Jack Factory is doing. They just released Carb Surge. Oh,
smells good. Damn, that smells good.
It smells grapefruity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you like grapefruit in and of itself as a food?
I don't. I think I do. I like citrus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I can just flat out say, "Oh yeah, I like grapefruit," but
yeah.
I like that kind of vibe.
You didn't try the grapefruit diet or anything back in the day?
No, but I think, and this is also pink grapefruit, which I think.
Yeah.
I think I prefer the pink
Ruby
grapefruit.
red.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy, and I've had grapefruit juice or grapefruit flavored cocktails and things like that. I've always enjoyed grapefruit. The only grapefruit supplement I think I've tried is the OMG from Innova Farm, their Recover EAA. That shit. That is, I think, the best tasting supplement I have ever had.
Yeah, I can see that. That stuff was amazing.
Yeah.
And loaded. That's a really good call on that one.
14 grams of EAAs. I want to try their two new flavors. They just released snow cone or rainbow cone, and then I forget what the other one is, but I'm gonna get some of that.
Smells good. All right, so I'm taking a pre-workout, just hanging out. So
there you go. Moment of truth.
That's good. It's pink grapefruit.
Yeah. Sweet, tart, or is there any sourness to it?
It's like, it tastes like pink grapefruit, but without the punch at like the very end, where you're kind of like, kind of makes you like curl up a little bit.
Yeah, the pucker.
It's nice and smooth. Yeah, the end of it's like nice and smooth. That's good.
Okay, well, I'm excited. I'll have to go crack open my tub. Maybe I'll use that tomorrow for my pre-workout. I'll crack that open and see how it is.
I think every sip I take, I like it more. This is good.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's good.
Excellent.
How much water is in there? Because I'm assuming you did a full scoop. How much water is in that giant shaker that you're using?
I only had probably 8 to 10 ounces left.
Okay, well, that's perfect. Yeah, that's probably what it says on the directions, is to mix it with 8 ounces of water.
That's good.
Awesome. I wish companies made the minimum dosing for the water like 16 ounces, just because you want to be really hydrated, and a lot of them put glycerol and butane and a bunch of these other osmolytes in there. So make the recommended dosing like 16 and just up the flavor.
Well, and I'll give you. There's another example of we see these this blanket approach to take mix with 6 to 8 ounces of water 15 to 30 minutes before a workout, and Glaxon's one of those companies that they actually put what they think you should weight and the amount of water, because theirs actually differs from most. Because I'll give you 2 examples. Someone asked me, they said, how come they're one, I don't know if it was Specimen or something, like one of their pre-workouts. Someone asked me, why does theirs say 45 minutes to an hour to take it when everyone else says 15 to 30? And I was like, the funny thing is when you get a bunch of ingredients together, especially when you get nootropics and stuff like that, it takes time for that stuff to sort of work its way through your system.
Yeah.
I was like, and for some reason, 15 to 30 just became what everyone puts on theirs.
Right.
And I never get that. Like, it always takes me longer than that. There's only maybe we mentioned Assassin, that Relentless Labs Activate has a lot of caffeine citrate. Like, those are the only 2 pre-workouts I can think of
Yeah.
that you take it and within minutes you're like, oh shit, I gotta go.
Right.
But then they also, where was I going with that? So Boston had that, and then their sleep aid. So most people take sleep aids with very, very little water, right? Because you don't want to be drinking a bunch of water and then
Right.
be up, go in the bathroom. There's people were complaining about the flavor. Theirs actually says on there to take with 16 ounces of water, I think.
Yeah.
12 to 16. And ironically enough, like I went through a whole bottle of that.
Hmm.
I don't think I ever woke up like to go to the bathroom or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had that problem. So keep your eye on that stuff. Some people do like them give.
Yeah.
I think
Proper dosing.
Ben does the same thing. Ben Morphogen. He says um, it varies. It's not just this
Yeah.
kind of thing. So kind of
Yeah, and
interesting.
that's what we've talked before. I mean, it takes, if you look at the research specifically on caffeine and citrulline, I'm sure it's the same way with most other ingredients. It takes around 45 to 60 minutes for those ingredients to reach peak levels in the bloodstream. So if you're popping your pre-workout and then walking into the gym 5 minutes later, you're not really getting the benefits of any of that stuff until like you're 2/3 towards the tail end of your workout.
Alpha GPC is in everything now, and peak
Yeah.
levels are usually between like 1 and 2 hours.
Yeah, and say teacrine is 90 to 120 minutes. That's an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's, and while you might feel that initial, increase in energy from caffeine within like 15 minutes, it's still ramping up at that point. It's not really, it hasn't hit the zenith of what it's going to be able to do for you and your workouts and, wakefulness and alertness level. So all listeners out there, back off your pre-workout time in a little bit, stretch it out and enjoy the ride. Let everything get saturated and get to work.
I agree. I noticed myself if I take it, I used to take it and then go right to the gym, and then I just noticed after a while, I was like, man, sometimes some of these products, Jeff Long's is a good example where I really noticed it. His has got a lot going on in there, and Alpha GPC. And what I would notice is like at the tail end of my workout,
Yeah.
then I was like, holy shit.
Right.
So I'm like, how about I just wait? And
Yep.
I think a lot of people mistake too. You can take a lot of ingredients and stuff like that, and if you just sort of sit there, nothing, not much happens, right? But
Right.
then once you start some kind of physical activity, that's when things start, really firing, and the supplements can sort of push you a little bit. So timing that out, I think, is actually pretty important.
Agreed. Yeah, potentiates the effects of the supplement.
Word.
There's the first 2 pages of Stacked are kind of like a shit show.
What is Jack Factory doing? Jack Factory always does some decent stuff for cheap.
Yeah, Carb Surge. Yeah, and they're another one. Like we were saying with Steel Fit, Jack Factory's products are always really well priced,
Mm-hmm.
and they give you quality doses of stuff. So it's a carb supplement that's got carb 10 and cluster dextrin in it. Which we always hear how expensive cluster dextrin is, but I mean they've got a decent amount in here to go along with the carb 10, and it's only $30 for 30 servings. I think it's 30
Imagine
servings
that.
and 23 grams of carbs per scoop.
You know what I like Jack Factory too is they do some smart things when it comes to like dosages and some of their capsule products. They keep it to 1 cap a lot of times,
Hmm.
which is good for people. And then they, for a company that focuses on Amazon, and they're just, I mean, they fucking kill it on Amazon.
Yeah.
But they use a lot of patented ingredients, and they don't go say that cheap route that a lot of Amazon brands do.
Right.
Granted, they're so massive at this point, they
Yeah.
can afford to do some certain things, but
Correct.
I like them. I think we love the Morphogens and the Glaxons of the world, but
Hmm.
Jack Factory I think is an awesome option.
Yeah.
It absolutely fills a need for people that sometimes gets overlooked because a lot of people within the supplement space, not many, and we've been having this conversation constantly because I think Amazon is its own beast
Correct.
with how you have to approach it, but it's an untapped resource for a lot of sports nutrition brands that for some reason they get weird about ingredients and stuff like that too. But
Yeah.
I see a missed opportunity on Amazon for a lot of brands, but you kind of see why. So a lot of people will say dismiss Amazon, but there is some good stuff actually on Amazon. I try to stay up to date on what's going on in there, and you do see some pretty good products that
Yeah.
are on there. These days, I think it gets fairly sort of poor reputation, but there's some decent stuff on there.
What do you think of them, Amazon, pulling uh, just about anybody, the company that was included on the ABH Pharma list, even though they may not have been currently using ABH as a manufacturer?
Is that what they did? Did they just pull everybody?
They've I can think of two companies I know right off the top of my head that either got certain products pulled or their lines were they got some very stern admonishments from Amazon.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they actually followed through with it. It's just tough. That's the thing about Amazon is they ask questions later kind of thing, and that's the risk that you run. Amazon makes things so much easier for people, especially as we've seen the shipping crisis
Yeah.
in this country. I think Black Friday and the holidays really highlighted
Yep.
the massive, like they just absolutely cannot keep up with e-commerce
Right.
in this country, and um, Amazon takes a lot of that headache off of these places' shoulders. So you can see why it's so. But you, how about so? Hopefully he doesn't mind me. I won't bring up the brand. So I think you and I talked about it. We know a brand very well that had a product of theirs pulled off of there because maybe I even talked about it last week because he had CDP choline in his
Mm-hmm.
product and they pulled it because of CBD. And
No,
they ended
you
up,
actually didn't mention this on the podcast last week.
yeah, they ended up putting it back on, but still it was like a couple days. And
Yeah.
so CDP choline was in their description and Amazon pulled it. It's like, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
so you have to play their game. They ask questions later, kind of thing. And I can only imagine like Amazon's just so massive. The amount of scumbag stuff you see on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
We're working with a couple brands right now, and one in particular where we just got him on Amazon, and all of his company name, and all of his product names, the keywords and all that are all bought up by competitors already.
Yeah.
So he,
He can't
like,
get any.
he can't even get his own keywords because or his own name because other people have already bought him up, and it's just like holy shit. And then I've known people that will claim I have no reason to doubt them, but the companies have sort of hacked into listings and then they'll list
Mm-hmm.
a banned ingredient
Yeah.
and then they get pulled.
Yep.
It is there's so much money to be made on there. And you really, if Amazon's handling so much for you, you have a lot of free time to just buy other people's products, complain about them, change your listings, fuck with them. It's like,
Correct.
so yeah, you want to be a sub company owner? Go ahead.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. That's why I prefer being on the outsides, and I'll just dab my foot in when people want help writing
Yeah,
or
because
formulating.
yeah, because I started some shit a couple of times recently, and I just started it by just making an observation.
Yeah.
And but the fun part is, I was like, well, I just made an observation, and I just kind of sit there while everyone.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, man, I didn't say anything. I just pointed something out, and I'm like, you guys, do what you want with that information. I like it like that.
Yeah. I'm still scrolling through. I think I'm on page 4 now, and there's not.
Well, it seems like a lot of these, like they're like new flavors of products that I think we like Hypermax was on there, and
Yeah.
that Dark Side pre-workout was on there. I think that
Yeah.
one.
I'm curious to try the pink starburst of Performax's Hypermax.
It's a
The
good pre, man.
the Rocket
It's
Pop was a really good flavor. Their first two flavors, and Performax was never known for being. They were kind of like Nutribio in that they had great formulas, but the flavoring was never there. But in the past year, Nutribio and Performax have stepped up flavoring considerably to where I haven't partially open tub of like the original flavor of Hypermax, which is some kind of orange mango or something. I don't even want to use raspberry lemonade. I don't even want to use that anymore because I've got the rocket cone, rocket pop, snow pop, whatever the hell you want to call it, sitting in the freezer that it tastes infinitely better, and that's the only one I really want to use.
Yeah, I think I think Hypermax Extreme was a really good. That's a good pre.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Since we were on Jack Factory earlier, it says 4 days ago. I didn't realize they had released an EA supplement too now. Let's see what it's got. 6.7 grams of amino 9. Is that the highest dose we've seen used of that specific ingredient?
Shit. I don't know.
2 grams of citrulline malate as well. 2 grams of taurine in there. I mean, I like that. That's a decent one.
Yeah, I like what they do. There's actually a brand on here I want to talk about. So, Court always raves about Dr. Dean. I don't know if you follow him on Instagram or anything. That guy definitely knows his stuff. But it's called Supplement Needs. Who's the reputable UK retailer? Supplement Needs. So it's a retailer, and then they make their own line. But Court is a huge fan of this guy. This guy's so let's see here. Supplement Needs. That's the name of the brand. There was something he always talks about the sleep stack, how creative the sleep stack is. And I don't think I've ever really looked at the formula, but let's see, because people are always asking about sleep. So, are you on the site?
No.
Well, anyway, because it was on Stacked that he has a one-of-a-kind omega-3 formula, which
Oh, I do remember seeing that.
Supplement Needs Omega Pro comes with 2.22 grams of concentrated fish oil, breaks into 1.4 DHA, 420 EPA, and 240 of DPA. So it's chewable vegetable capsules that are gelatin-free. They're flavored. Because I was wondering I was like, well, what's the one of a kind?
Yeah, what makes
thing?
it stand out?
If it's fish oil, it just sounds like it's more fish oil, but then there's some. I suppose if you have a chewable fish oil that tastes good,
yeah.
Do we need that? I don't know, but I guess that is pretty unique.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. I remember seeing the headline of one of a kind fish oil product or whatever it was, and I just thought I read through the description. I didn't see anything that really jumped off the page at me, but maybe I just.
Yeah, it just looks like it's a big dose, but you could just get that by taking more of something else. But
right.
Looks like he's the chewable tutti frutti flavor. So I guess that is unique. Interesting. Anyway, I just always hear him talk about this, and so I was just kind of curious. Anyway, on to the next.
Yeah. Oh, there is one thing, and I sent you this basically as soon as we got off the podcast last week. Or no, it was on Saturday. I sent this to you, and we talked about MFit and their $70 hemp powered post workout, which was basically Velocitol BCAAs and some CBD isolate extract, and there might have been a couple of other things in there, but I mean, nothing in there that I thought warranted $70. Then I found that, and I know Rob over at Genius Brand before. He's been on the podcast. He's a very smart guy, a very nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually make some pretty solid formulas. Justin and I have both said that Genius Consciousness is a really good nootropic. A $75 joint supplement is outrageous.
And is this on Stacked?
Yeah, it's on page, I don't know, like 5 or 6. It's buried back there. But I mean, it's got 400 milligrams of curcumin, and all of the ingredients in here, outside of the hemp, are licensed ingredients. So there's 300 milligrams of Vita Cherry, 216 of Fruit XB, 150 of Paractin, 100 milligrams of Boswellia, 40 milligrams of UC2, and then 20 milligrams of hemp leaf extract. So we don't know what the hemp leaf is actually standardized for, what the CBD content is, or anything like that. So, I mean, that's kind of an issue I find there. The price tag is ridiculous. I think you could find better and more affordably priced ones. This price tag is just, it makes it prohibitive. It's because we had the $70 C4 Dynasty, we had the $70 MFit Recover, and we've got the $75 joint thing. So I'm just wondering, is $75 like the new benchmark price we're going to start seeing for supplements, whether they're good or bad or not?
Well, I can't be a hypocrite because I know when it comes to price, I just generally don't even want to get involved in that because it's just like another layer of bullshit. It's like people just do do the math. Like you can look at a formula like this, and if you look at a formula like Orthogen, Orthogen is usually like one of my main go-to recommendations for like joint formulas. Like you don't have to ask you or me if it's worth it or not. You can fucking just read. Like when these companies just lay it all out here for you like this
Yeah,
and just put the ingredients in, the only thing stopping you from figuring out whether it's worth it or not is just being lazy.
yeah,
Like just go. I mean, it's not worth it to you to just take 5 minutes. And then the craziest part of that whole thing about learning what these ingredients are, once you learn them, guess what? You're going to see that same ingredient 100 times in other products. Then you already know
yeah,
the information about it. So it's not like every product has new ingredients in it. It's like you're going to see, or even like ingredients that are a little bit different, but they're trying to do the same thing.
yeah.
And once you figure that out, you can just look at a formula and go, I know roughly about what I would spend on that product. So
Right.
this like helplessness with Justin, is this worth it? Is this I just at this point I push back against every single person that asked me about is it worth it? I was like, figure it out yourself.
Yeah,
Do your own math. You know what I mean? You can if you use the joint formula and it took all your pain away and the inflammation and stuff, would it be worth $75? Sure. I'm sure it is to someone. But does that mean that there's not the same type of product out there for half as much somewhere?
correct.
It
Yeah,
probably is out there. So it's like, I don't know. I don't really know what to say.
yeah. And the
It
Orthogen
feels
supplement
like,
contains many of the same ingredients that are in Genius Joint, but higher doses, and Orthogen's cheaper.
mhm.
That's and I like Genius brand and the majority of stuff that they do. This one it's like a giant swing and a miss for me.
Well, it feels to me like what I see in the MFit was kind of the same example. Like I like the MFit formula, that recoup that they were doing.
Yeah,
I like the formula, but it feels to me like when we start, and it just adds into what I don't believe much in hemp and CBD and all that stuff anyway.
right.
Not that it's not beneficial, but it to me is not more beneficial than a lot of other things we already use,
Yeah,
right? It feels to me like every time we're putting one of these ingredients in a product, it is like double or tripling the price of a product, and that's where I go, no thanks. Like I'm all for if CBD is good for you. Like hey, I'm all for exploring that. But if you're going to double a price,
yeah,
MFit and their other product, MFit has it's like a KSM. So if you go get KSM, I think we talked about this before. It's like $30 for 3 months supply at NutriBio. Okay, with their third party tests and all this other
yeah.
stuff. MFit has a KSM and hemp product, and it's like $70 for a month. And it's like you're really trying to tell me that hemp is that much more beneficial. That's where I
Right,
kind of go. To me personally, I pass.
right.
Not saying I'm right or wrong, but if you're going to try to tell me that it's to warrant the type of price increases I see with hemp and CBD, you better have a much better information about CBD and hemp
Yeah.
to warrant that price because I don't fucking see it.
No, I need a much more extensive body of evidence, and I'm starting to talk like scientific studies show me that this. I'm going to call it price gouging is warranted.
Well, because so we talk about S7. The
Yeah,
one thing about S7 is they use a low dosage of it.
yeah.
There's no companies that put S7 in a thing and jack up the formula by $5 or $10
Right. It's dirt cheap.
because they're like, maybe it works.
Yeah,
If that was what companies were doing with CBD and hemp, I would be fine with it.
yeah,
But if you're going to add a CBD or hemp product to a standard formula and then jack up the price double because it has that. To me, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's not. To me, there's not the added benefit to it to warrant what we're doing. And I think price gouging. Not saying the Genius is doing it or Emphit is price gouging, but I think that that's what we've seen because you're just capitalizing on the fact that people perceive that there's all these extra benefits that nothing else could possibly give you out there.
Right.
And that's where I kind of am like, that's why I'm always in the wait and see thing with CBD. And granted, it might be a lot harder and more expensive for companies to put it in there.
Yeah.
Because you really can't get it from that many like trustworthy places.
Correct.
It's, very tricky sort of thing. So I get it, it's probably much more expensive for them, but I'm not going to take on that cost as a consumer to pay for something that I've used it. And that's the other thing. I'm not sitting here going, oh, I just think it's bullshit because the studies I've used it and I'm like, I don't see it.
Yeah, there's nothing. I've used a couple of bottles of CBD oil and I've just, there's nothing. There's not a benefit in terms of like joint pain for me or anything. I don't have joint pain to begin with, but it doesn't feel like there's an additive thing going on there with relief or any kind of pain or stress relief or anything like that. Sandy's also kind of my bullshit barometer too, because I'll give her stuff just randomly and I'll say, here, just take this. I don't tell her what it is. And I'll just see what happens. And I've given it to her several times, like before bed or just in the afternoon when she seems stressed. I don't tell her what I'm giving her or what its purpose is, but I'll say,
very good relationship you guys have.
Yeah, she trusts me. And I, from our little N=2 experiments, nothing significant to report.
Let's do one thing on this topic. We've had tons of new brands subscribe to the app.
Okay.
And join in what we're doing.
Wait, this is not your podcast. You do not get to shamelessly promote the Supplement Snoop app on the show. Let's keep that in check. This is only to plug Morphogen, and that's it.
You know what, man?
All right, go ahead.
This is going to be breaking up the band. So this company, so they reached out to me, and I'll tell you a funny story about this. This was just last night. A company reached out. He said, hey, we have this CBD brand. And that right away, I'm like, okay. So it's called Lifestacks. So check out Lifestack Supplements, lifestacksupplements.com. Head to that site real quick because it's actually pretty cool. What I found was they don't have a CBD brand. What they have is some pretty cool products that happen to have a little bit of CBD in them.
Okay.
And like this nootropic formula, it's called Flow. So you've got the P5P, vitamin B6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? The active form of it.
Alcar, 500 milligrams. Citicoline, 150. Theanine, 125. Panax ginseng, which I really like. I think it's good to see it making a little bit of comeback. 125. ALA, 100. Rhodiola, the good form too, standardized at 3%.
Yeah.
And 1%. So 100 Solastris paniculatus. And that's the one, the seeds are what you want.
Correct.
The seeds are the ones.
Yeah, it's got those acetylcholinesterase inhibiting properties similar to huperzine A. Probably not as strong, I would assume, but it's it's in that same vein. It works via the same pathway as huperzine does. Yeah,
and they actually specify that it's seeds. Then you got CoQ10, Coleus forscoli.
Mm-hmm.
You have NADH and then PQQ, which are, granted, they're down at the bottom of the list, but expensive and pretty cool additions. And then you have CBD isolate tucked in there too. And I was kind of like, if you were to take the CBD out of this would still be a kick-ass product.
Yeah, it would be certainly interesting. Is that per one capsule are these ingredients? Because I'm wondering I wonder if I would end up taking 2 caps of this.
I don't think you can get that much in 1 cap. I think you can only get like 700 milligrams in a cap.
Okay.
So this is probably a 2 cap dose.
Yeah, it says 2 caps, and there's only 15 servings in the bottle.
Which makes sense because when I saw the $30 price tag, I was like, there is no effing way that this could be a 30 serving.
Right.
So yeah, $2 serving. I like it. I think so. When I saw so anyway, they have that, and then Chill, which is lithium, which is interesting. You don't see a lot of places use lithium, but that's
No.
one that our friend Will Wallace talks about lithium all the time.
Yeah, balancing out your mood and everything, keeping you even.
He uses it in the morning. He says
Yeah.
it's got central, lemon balm, valerian root, cat's claw, everything standardized, everything laid out there, and then some CBD isolate
Hmm.
in there as well. So um, really, really nice guy from over there. We had a good talk last night, and yeah, they joined up with the group, and he's gonna send me some of this stuff. So there is such a shit show part of the industry that is revolved around CBD, and I think you and I have rightfully taken a step back and said we'll wait and see kind
Yeah.
of thing. So when I start to see things like this, and I also told him, I was like, you got to provide more information about your CBD
Yeah.
and stuff like that too. Um, this is the type of stuff where I'm like, okay, let's talk about this, kind of thing. But if you're
Yeah.
going to try these companies, and you're like, oh, here's this bottle of MCT oil that we're going to call CBD oil, and it's going to cure all your needs. That's what I'm kind of like, why don't you go fuck yourself,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, there's nothing, because you can use, like I said, if you take CBD out of this with the lemon balm and ashwagandha and stuff, that's for most people, that's going to give you that same type of effect,
Right.
stuff like that. So you're not reinventing the wheel with CBD, but if you're going to include it in there as an add-on, and you're not going to jack your price of your product through the roof just because it's in there, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I find interesting about the formulas on the Lifestacks is that they don't contain some of the typical common players. So that the nootropic doesn't have caffeine in it.
Hmm.
There's no huperzine in it, which is nice. So there's Celastrus in there. Um, and then the formula, the sleep formula, there's no theanine or melatonin, which is what we typically see all the time in sleep formulas.
And they use some,
Other calming stuff like valerian and lemon balm. Cat's claw is an interesting thing that you don't really see in too many other sleep formulas either.
yeah, I'd be curious too, because I was actually just sort of, I don't want to say I was criticizing Cat's Claw, but the companies I see use it, man.
Oh, it's the shitty prop blend ones on Amazon. I'll
Yeah,
say it
and
for you.
I don't trust them,
Yeah.
and so I would like to hear someone that is willing to talk about this stuff. Obviously, they're picking ingredients for a reason.
Yeah.
They're making some unique kind of cool choices. They're using some good forms. So
Yeah.
this is the type of stuff, when I see this, then I go, let's talk about your reasoning.
Right.
And this is not like me going, why the fuck are you using CBD isolate? Like, I would love to hear
Yeah.
what you have, what you guys, because obviously you do your homework.
Right.
So what was behind your decision making process with that? I think that's kind of the way MFit is too. They seem to, um, and I guess Genius would fall in that. I would love to hear why. I would just love to
Yeah.
hear, the explanation to what we got going on here and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
One thing I'm curious about, we can end on this, I guess, is on the Lifestack supplements for the chill, the nighttime formula, the niacin on it. It has inositol hexanicotinate. So I wonder why they don't list out any inositol content. Maybe it's just so low.
Yeah,
So
50 milligrams.
yeah,
Never mind, I won't say it. I'll take it easy on Alani New.
that works.
But
We'll end on a positive note.
yeah, so anyway, these people, like I said, it was another one. I don't want to say it was like Klaxon, but when you just start to hear the same shit
Yeah.
from brands over and over again. I try not to do this, and there's always an icebreaker conversation, and I fully admit that I am a tough person to break the ice with.
Yep. Yeah.
But so when we start to talk, and he goes, hey, check this out, because I be straight up, like, and I don't advertise it, but there's been companies that have approached me that I just fucking savage.
Yeah.
I mean, but they deserve it. I'll give them a choice. I was like, hey, don't do this.
Yeah.
what you're doing right now. And if you keep doing this, then I just sort of
Right.
I can't help it.
Yep.
But anyway, once I saw this, I was like, you know what, this is kind of cool. And this is kind of one of those things where I'm like, I would like to hear more. And I would like to talk more about it. So I think they're going to send me some. And I'm definitely going to ask some questions. So cool stuff.
Cool.
So it's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, man. So, all right, buddy. Another week, another excellent recording down. We'll enjoy the weekend. Safe travels this weekend, and we'll crank this up again next week.
Yeah, I got some downtime this weekend. I'll send you some pictures, some bourbon, some video games.
Hey, going to that friend's house. I got you. Very cool.
Yeah. He's a bourbon connoisseur just like you. So I just trust. I said, Go ahead. I said, you tell me what to drink. And
Good. Well, let me know what the brand is, and I'll have to see if I've tried it. And if not, I'll go secure a bottle.
Sounds like a plan, brother.
All right, bud.
We will. We'll talk soon. Sure.
Sounds good.
All right, see you, bud.
Bye.